moving from that motherfucker.
Yeah, leaving. I like Cali though. I ain't
That's what we
Cali,
talking
though.
about. I just told him, I said, bro, when I came out here and I just realized like
The conversations is
conversations different.
Yeah, man.
Like you in Atlanta, you know, it's a dope place, but everybody look alike when it comes to what they doing.
Yeah. We live? All right, so what's up, everybody, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Mike Rashid. This is the Lions, Owls, Elephants podcast. My man Party Tour Body over there.
As usual.
We have very, very special guests this evening. We have my man Wall Street Trapper.
What's good?
We have Mr. Him 500, aka Marcus Barney. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, boss. I'm good.
I need to know. I try to search the internet to see the meaning of Him 500.
Okay.
Can you please explain to myself and to the people what that means?
Him, as in like, you know, His Imperial Majesty, like I'm him.
Okay.
And then the 500 was always Fortune 500, trying to be elite, top of my class, top of whatever I'm in. I want to be the top at it. So the 500 stands for, that's that, you know, Fortune 500. That's where the 500
I dig it.
came
I like
from.
that. I like that. So for these some of these people that follow me that may not know what y'all do, I want to get into a little bit of what y'all do because it's very fascinating. We live in a very what a time to be alive right now. You know, we were talking earlier about how a lot of people use the pandemic to really catapult themselves and be creative and make money and do a lot of things. Some didn't, but you guys are masters in a specific space, right? So let's talk about what y'all do.
So me, Wall Street Trapper, man. So my focus was on investing in the stock market.
Right.
I think it is an untapped lane for us in various different ways. But the biggest way is we don't understand the power of it. And then the second way is we don't understand the vocabulary. And so because we don't understand either of those, we just stay away from it. Not understanding that this is one of the most powerful wealth building tools that has been around for generations. If we look at just America as a whole, especially white America, right? Jewish America, like their wealth, at least 80% of it is tied in that market, right? And so when I learned it while I was in prison, I was like, yo, like it reminded me of the streets. It was identical. It just was, instead of gangsters getting killed and going to prison, like we wore suit and ties and they went home every day making 6-7 figures. Even if they lost money, they still came back the next day and built. And so I was like, damn, like the game I'm playing is different. Like I'm risking my life, I'm risking my freedom. I know the end to this. Like there is no ceiling. Nobody who I know that was a real gangster, I can say stepped away from the game and won.
Dead or prison?
Nobody won, right? And so after doing my 10 years in prison, then after coming home, getting found out guilty on a charge, getting another charge overturned, it was like, okay, so we know what the end result gonna be here, right? Like I understand it, I see it. So now let me use something different. And then this shit just made sense to me. It was identical to what I was doing. And so I just really locked in on it. And I became really good at it because everything that I did in it, I compared it to the streets. So for me, I took the language barrier down to where I made the game winnable for me. Right. And so everybody around me I knew had the same issue, right? Like even when you in the streets, like, and people just have this bad understanding, like you don't want to be in the streets, right? It's just something, it's an avenue that makes more sense because what happens is you see everybody around you going to work and you like, well, shit, they still struggling. I don't want to do that, right? And I'm not the best ball player, and at the time, like, you know, I'm not a rapper, so like the streets is where it's at. I'm making money. All the street dudes I know, they getting all the girls. That's where the power at.
Right.
So
it was a viable commodity. You
easy.
buy it, you sell it, and make more profit.
That's it.
And yeah,
it's people don't like, but it's entrepreneurship.
It is.
in its rawest form.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? It's entrepreneurship
actually,
in its rawest form.
if you think about it, it's like, I feel like it's a pure form of entrepreneurship.
It is.
And what you learn, because you become the ultimate risk taker.
That's it.
So when you get into stock market or legal things, a risk?
Nah,
like,
and
this ain't a risk.
That's what that's what I say all the time. I'm like, yo, for periods of my life, I was risking it, life and freedom. If all I can lose is some
And
money
death.
here and death,
And
yeah,
death,
that's it.
yeah.
So if all I can lose here is some money, that's no risk. Because the reality is, if we think about it, money is never really an issue. We all know how to go get some money. If that bill is late, you know how to go get some money to pay that bill, right? So the objective for me was like, how do we stop playing defense and start playing offense? How do we get on the other side of the game, right? How do we get from survival mode to winning? And so for me, what the stock market is, that was major for me because the fear of losing money was never a thing for me. Even in the streets, like you understand that I can get a bad pack. That still gotta go. I gotta go in somebody else's hood and sell this, man. Right? Because I don't want to jeopardize my clientele. So I gotta go in somebody else's hood and sell this. Like that's another risk I'm taking. And even if I just break even to get another pack, I'm cool with that. Right? So the idea of losing money, like I ain't tripping on that. Right? So the stock market just was one of these places where like it reminded me so much of the streets. And another thing too about being from the streets, like the reason why most dudes can't leave the streets is because you need something else to give you that same fulfillment, right? So the reason why you can't leave the streets and just go work a job, because now it's like, yo, like I ain't getting the money I was getting, but two, like I'm locked down here, right? And so for me, I sold cars. Like I used to get cars from the auction, buy them, flip them. That reminded me of the streets. Anything where I could depend on me, like I'm with that. Right. Because now there's no cap on what I can make. True, the losses can come, but again, the streets prepared me for that. And so this game gave me the same thrill that the streets gave me. So now I just, dig in on it much as I can, every day I can. And man, I love it, man. I love it, man.
Right. So real quick, before we get to Marcus, if I understand correctly, you met a guy in prison that taught you the game, the stock market, right?
So he didn't necessarily teach me the game. What happens is people plant seeds and we nurture the seed. Right. So what he did was, I did 10 years in prison for attempted murder on robbery. And I had just got in a fight with two of my homies. Right. So we fought all night. So I'm in a cell with this white dude. And this was around the time where I realized that this 1999. So I realized that all white people hadn't come in contact with black people. That blew my mind. So he had this look and he was just like, yo, y'all playing the wrong game. Now, mind you, I just finished having a fight. So I'm like, what?
Right.
Like, what you talking about, bro? I'm still there. So now I'm like, bro, like I'm about to whoop your ass, bro. Like, what you talking about? Because I don't know how I'm matching that with ignorance. Right. And he was like, nah, man, look, I don't mean no harm. It's no disrespect, bro. But y'all fill this place up. And it tells me that something is missing here. And so I'm like, man, if we playing the wrong game and you ain't here with me, then what game you playing? Right. And so he told me something that was important. He was like, okay, so I'm in here for embezzlement, and it was $2.8 million. He paid restitution of $8 million and kept $2 million.
800,000.
I mean, he kept paying restitution of 800,000 and kept $2 million. So I'm like, man, you lying. So one thing about prison is you can always see a person's paperwork. Right. So let me see it. Now, again, I'm in prison. I'm on a attempted murder on robbery. So I have a red band. And so he has a federal band, which is red and white. And it's crazy, like it's in prison, like the federal band is like kind of like a hierarchy. Like you know some shit that everybody don't know. Right? You playing a different game than us. So he shows me the paperwork and I'm like, damn, how do I play that game? And so he didn't really teach me the stock market, but he told me these little rules along the way. I was in a cell with him for 45 days. He says, wealthy people learn how to stop trading time for money. They start letting the money work for them. And they learn how to give an immense amount of value to people. That part I learned later. And then the next thing he said was wealthy people buy stocks, start a business, and then own real estate. So because he told me stocks first, that's what I gravitated to first. And so I just spent the rest of my 10 years learning about it, researching it, listening to Warren Buffett. And that shit sounded like Chinese to me in the beginning. But what happens is, again, I made the language, I broke it down to what it sounded like and what I can relate it to. Right. And that relatability factor, like in the streets, in a good company in the stock market, one, they have a good product. In the streets, in order to be a good hustler, you have to have a good product. Right. And so the next thing is, how do I brand this business? Right. So marketing and branding for a successful business is great because some businesses buy their brand names called a brand emote. Well, for a hustler, like if you got a good product and a good service, that is a branded name. Blue Magic, branded. You know what I'm saying? The next thing is, in a great business has more low operational costs, which is key, right, to the business seeing profit. So a good hustler, you're gonna learn how to break down operational costs, right? So for me, I always say I like to use all 4 corners of the bag, right? So most hustlers, they use 2 corners of the bag. No, I'm gonna use all 4 corners. I'm gonna use the 2 corners and the 2 that flip over, right? So now I can get 4 pieces out of this thing than just 2. Low operational costs. Understanding how to not have more debt, right? So some hustlers, like if you spending all your money and all you got is re-up money, I'm gonna go further than you. Right, so it was just me understanding these components, and it's more, right? But me understanding those things and saying, okay, cool, like this reminds me of this, right? That reminds me of this. And so once I was able to put it in that language, like I can listen to it all day, every day, because now my brain has already broken it down as I hear it in real time,
right,
of what it reminds me of. And so that also now made me look at gangsters different. I started telling myself, like, the real gangsters wear the suit and ties and they go to this thing every day. So what I've been bought to believe is gangsters are really pawns in the game. Right. Like, I don't want to be a pawn. I want to be the pawn that goes to the other side and graduates to be a king, a rook, or a bishop, and now I can play the game on my terms.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what the market just meant to me, because the people who run the market actually move the world around, at least the U.S. economy around. And so if we can play that game and get into the ownership game, man, we can take our just wealth building to a whole different level, man.
Man, I need to give a stand ovation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Very impressive.
It's almost a miracle that you had that time, and of course it's so unjust that you went to prison and was overturned later. That's its own bag of worms. But that time where you developed that understanding, I think that's the missing point, because I think a lot of people, if you explain it, would agree that guys in the streets know more about business than your average college graduate who went to school for business, because they're actually doing business, right? They're doing it, and like you said, there's all these angles that they have to consider, whether they know they're considering them or not. You just had the time to make the connection between how the parallels work and how you're able to now apply it into a whole new world. And it's taken you, farther than most people would have ever expected, I think.
Yeah, often, like, people always ask me, like, yo, if you could do it all over again, would you? I'd be like, hell no.
Yeah.
Right? Because that gave me time. I was able to go through different stages. So remember, I go to prison at 16, right? So one of the best habits I had in prison was reading, right? And that's the one thing that we don't want to do. Like, reading is something that will open you up to so much, because information changes. You about to laugh. Information changes the conversation. Once you change the conversation, you change the compensation. Once you change the compensation, you can create a new realization, right? And so prison allowed me to change the information so I can have different conversations. I can't talk about stocks if I don't have the information. So prison allowed me to sit myself down for 10 years and intake information that I normally wouldn't have took in. Remember, I'm 16 when I go to prison. I go to upstate I'm 18. So from 18 to 25, I'm learning a new skill. I'm learning a new skill.
That's a long university.
You feel me?
Yeah.
That's a master's degree.
I mean, where I'm from, we call it college anyway.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
It's college.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
The thing
Now,
about that, though.
if I'm on the street, I don't have time to sit down and read at that, because I'm in survival mode every day.
You're busy. You're doing things.
Every day.
Yeah.
I don't have time to sit down 6-8 hours a day. All right, boom. I get off from work. I come out of the field, or I come off the kitchen. I hit the weight pile. Man, I'm reading. Because they watching something on TV, or like, I don't want to watch that stuff, man. I'm not a movie dude. I'm not a sci-fi guy, right? So I'm not watching TV. I'm reading. I developed that. It's like you working out. I developed that muscle, right? And so now it became normal for me. It became my habit. I created that habit. So when I came home from prison, I still had the habit. Even though I was hustling, when I got out of prison, I got back to hustling, because now I got to make money, right? But I developed that habit of, man, let me read right quick, man. Let me spend an hour to read right quick. You know, an hour of reading a day will change your life.
Oh, facts, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
My sons, they have to read. I give them 30 minutes though. 30 minutes a day. You gotta. What'd you read today? That's part of your.
You have
protocol.
to. Yeah. And so once I understood that, it was just there for me. Now, don't get me wrong. I came back home. I went back to the same environment. So I just got back in the streets. You know what I'm saying? Got back to hustling.
After prison, you went back. You went back to the life.
Of course.
Almost
of
the
course.
same as before, or
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, because what happens is you always have a plan until you get punched in the face. Mike Tyson's greatest quote to me. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. And it's not the adversity that molds the man. It's how he responds to it. Right? So I got back in the streets. I get found not guilty. The narcs kick my doing. 8 pounds of weed, $10,000, a 223, a Glock, 100 X pills. Like, I'm back in it. But I was investing at the same time. Right? I was like, I'm gonna use my street money to help me get out this hole. Right? Just trying to always outthink the game. But you can't outthink the game. You can't outplay it. You can't out. It's. I heard this quote from Samuel Jackson that said, "A rigged game is fun to play." Right? And I know it's a rigged game, but it was what I knew. And so what happened was, after I got found not guilty on that charge, because they kicked in my door with no search warrant. So that's called fruit of a poisonous tree. So everything is inadmissible. Shout out to my lawyer, man, because I went broke getting him. But now,
Money well spent.
Yes, yes.
I know about that.
Yes. So it was like, okay, what do we do now? So the next thing was I started robbing hustlers, because I was like, all right, what is part of the game? Like, so OG told me one time, he says that anybody who goes to work every day, a working man is off limits. But if anybody sells a nickel bag, he fair game. And because I had been someone who got robbed before in the streets and I played executioner, I was like, cool, this is what it is. Until one day I was on the other end of it again. And my homie, God bless his soul, it was a 7-minute position. He said, listen, I can't stop you from shooting my homie. But if you shoot him, know that you're going to be laying next to him. Is it worth it? I'd rather you just go, let my homie go, we move on. God was with me again. Dude put the gun on, my homie let him go. I was there, I'm here today. I told my homie at the end of it, I said, bro, I'm good. I said, I done did 10 years, I done beat 2 charges. I done got shot, I done did some shit. It's time to move on to another phase, bro. This ain't it.
You know, Mike told me a story about this. It's in the documentary as well, I think, though I don't know how specific. Talking about how, although what landed him in prison was not just, and for the time he was in there, and he had to go through this process of fighting it and had to be on the run and had to, really do a lot. It was needed. It was something that was part of his journey.
It.
Yeah, it came, even though that incident that ultimately triggered it wasn't right. It wasn't fair how it went down for him. It was a result of the life he was living.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Most people who've been to prison, I can honestly tell you that if you sit back, you'll say this is only a byproduct of what I had did previous.
Right.
Right. So I know the stuff I was doing. Right. And so even for me to get found not guilty, for me to get another charge overturned by the Supreme Court, for me to be in that situation with my homie and then me not get killed, at some point a light goes off and say, yo, like, I don't want to meet my karma. You feel me?
Let me start.
Let me put something else. Let me sow some. Yeah, let me shift it. Let me plant different seeds.
Mentor told me early on, one of my early mentors, he told me, if you get pulled over for running a red light, don't take it as whether or a stop sign, that it's just that stop sign. Take it as, for granted, how many stop signs have you ran before?
Correct.
Because if you ran this one, you've ran more. In the middle of the night when you're going home and nobody's around and you blowing through stop signs, it's the habits that we create. So sometimes, like he said, when he went to prison and had to make the adjustment, that's the consequence for the things that he didn't get caught for. That's when you start to realize everything that happens and go, okay, I was comfortable once I did it and got away with stuff. I was comfortable, so I keep doing it. Then when you get caught, you go, I don't know if this is worth it or not. He just was blessed enough to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
But it's how many people in our communities, how many people that's out there now that may have got away with it, and they know that they don't want to do it. They just don't have an exit route.
Yep.
They don't have the exit strategy. they don't got the 10-year overturned case that Wall Street Trapper gonna have, right? So they never gonna meet that guy to tell them this and then get a second chance to go execute on it. So now the goal is where we sit at, and it's to a point where the people who are there and need a way out, well, this is your way out. This is, when you look at, even with me, right? My best friend died, committed suicide. We moved to Atlanta together. We moved to Atlanta to be entrepreneurs. Went broke partying. He couldn't handle it. I didn't know he was broke. I was saving a little bit more money than he did. He committed suicide. That's financial literacy. Nobody told us how to manage money. We was making $3,000 to $6,000 a month, sharing an apartment. I thought we was okay, but he was going out every weekend, partying, having a good time. His license got took. His vehicle for his transportation little company got took. He committed suicide.
Wow.
Put me in a real vulnerable situation. I went through depression, went through a lot of things. I'll never forget coming home, rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. I looked out the window in my headphones. I don't remember the funeral ceremony. I remember seeing him in a casket. Other than that, it was a blank. Coming home, looking out the window, and Nip said, "Get rich or get sent to the police station." At that point, nothing matters. Then the gloves come off. That's the same thing. So I went through stuff, and we had to take the gloves off. I started making money doing things, and I ended up putting myself in a bad position. The company I was working for, I partnered up with the owner. We did a move. I took the fall for it for some damn cell phones. Well, in the mix of that, I lost everything. When I lost everything, I started looking and going, I done built several different businesses now. And what's the main component of why my businesses struggle? My main component why my businesses struggle was I didn't have financial backing. None of us come from trust funds. So we always had to fund ourselves and keep ourselves afloat and comfortable, or else our back is to the wall. And I learned about credit. So then I started learning how to actually utilize credit and started figuring out, okay, let me focus on credit before I start another business. Let me focus on putting my own safety net behind me before I start a business. And I figured out how to make money off of credit. So now I started making 6 figures off of leveraging credit. The game changed. And the whole time I think about, and I look back and I always go, damn, if somebody was there, if I had an example of somebody that I could relate to, I see people online all the time, but is it somebody I could relate to that could have convinced and relayed this information to me in this way? My man probably still be here. But because our mentors didn't show us that, my mentor come from the same community, they couldn't teach me. They was uncomfortable going in banks. People in the streets, my older family members, they're uncomfortable. Credit, what's that? I'm now the GOAT for that. They come and talk to me about it, and they still get frustrated and be like, man, can you just do it for me? And I'm the teacher and instilling, it's nothing I can do for you. If you don't grasp the concept, you'll never be able to grow.
Right.
So we get into the do for self.
I didn't use credit until 2015. It was like I was a person that didn't exist. I was street life, cash, everything, other people's names. I didn't until, like Sean was saying, I had to fight some major cases. And once raised my hand in victory.
Yes.
I'm gonna be a normal citizen now. You know what I'm saying? So that was interesting. And I had to start. Nobody wanted to give me nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they still don't.
Yeah.
It's the fact of the matter is that a lot of times we get confused about the banking system. It's not set up for us to win. It's set up for them to win.
Explain that. Like, let's walk us through that.
When you look at banks, right, and you look at the structure of a bank, they want to hold your money and don't give you anything for it.
Right.
They want to invest it, use it. Only thing that's good for the banks is that, hey, you can keep a paper trail, and now we can track where your money came from. It helps you deal with the government, right? And then once we start getting into where I come from, it's like, yo, your money is insured up to $250,000. Well, when we get above that, then what do we do? Okay, so my money sits here, gets 0.001%. I get no benefit for even using my debit card.
None.
Versus I use a credit card. I got over $40,000 in reward points now, today.
That's a
I
fact.
saw your post today.
Yo, crazy, right?
I screenshotted that, dog. You know what I'm saying?
I used to go to work for Wells Fargo to make $32,000 a year. In 60 days, I made $40,000 off of my credit card, off of using it. 90 days. It was 2 cycles, right? I've made somebody's salary off of having good credit. Understanding how to start using this system in my favor. But back on the banks will hold your money invested in things. This is why this relationship is so strong. Because the banks is going to go put the money in different places, whether it's understanding stocks and different investments in different companies, wherever insurance, so many different ways where they invest the money at, right? We can do the same thing if we understand it and get the resources. So my goal now, and that's the thing that I really key in on, is bringing the resources back to us. Understanding, hey, you can make $1 million a month, but if you can't keep it, it don't matter. You can make $1 million a month, but can you do it properly and benefit and use the bank to make more money? Can you make, $100,000 a month? I tell people, it don't matter if your overhead is $60,000. You make $40,000. Most of us, take it down to a realistic level, is making between $6,000 to $10,000 a month, and majority of it get ate up on overhead.
But that's good. 6,000 to 10,000.
That's good money.
I don't even think they doing that.
But the overhead, right? But then even if it's $4,000 and they got an overhead of $3,200, they profit $800 a month. You do 8 times 12, that's what they have to live off of. It's a few $1,000s a year profit to live off of. Meanwhile, if you had good credit, you can eliminate your overhead. You could eliminate paying for groceries. You could eliminate paying for car insurance. You could eliminate paying for toiletries. And now you're more profitable in life. Literally using a credit card to replace and do things that you were already going to spend money on. It's just understanding the systems and understanding how to do it and accumulate reward points and really maximize what card you get that matches your lifestyle. Because like I look at, like when I talk to the youth, it's like, yo, you like Nikes. You don't need a Lane Bryant credit card. You need a Nike credit card or a credit card that has a relationship with Nike that the reward points convert higher and give you free sneakers. So now when you spend the money that you're going to spend every month, instead of getting your profits and going buying you Nikes, you go get free sneakers. I got $40,000 right now. I can go buy me designer clothes or I can go invest. Now I can make the bank's money work for me triple.
I'll do both.
You see what I'm saying? Now I'm with Trap and I'm telling Wall Street Trapper, yo, break this down to me. And you talking about dividends. Well, I'm getting dividends off the bank money. So now I'm taking reward points from American Express, making purchases, redeeming my purchase with reward points, and making a play and being able to invest it in the stock market. Now I'm winning 3 times off of one credit card.
And I learned that from you too, though, because I don't even use cash no more. Like I'll be swiping. You know what I'm saying? I use my credit cards all the time because, being with him, he made me realize like the points are money. You know what I'm saying? Like I think I don't have that many. Like he got, but I'm close to like 1 million. You know what I'm saying? And just using points, and I just be stacking up on them. And so another thing too about the banks, I created something a while back. I say how to make your bank a trap house, right? And what happens is we use the banks. Like for me, I have 1,000 shares of JP Morgan Chase, and I'm gonna show you some power in owning stock in the bank that you bank with, right? So this is one of the things I did before I get into that. I remember I lost my business credit card, and so I called Chase. This was right before the pandemic, and I was like, yo, I need y'all to mail me out another credit card. And they was like, well, it's gonna take 7 days. And I said, listen, I own 1,000 shares of this bank. Do I need to call Jamie Dimon and tell him in the next shareholder meeting that I'm having poor customer service? I promise you, no lie, I got the card the next day.
Wow.
That power of ownership is powerful. But I owned JP Morgan Chase. And then one of the things I love to do is I tell people that own enough shares in the business to where the business dividends buy you another share of the business or multiple shares. And then what happens now is now we own the bank pays us dividends to buy more shares of itself. Then we now roll into what Marcus teaches us. We now can go to that business, which I go to JP Morgan Chase, I get $25,000 business credit card with them. And so now we use the bank to have ownership in the bank. We use the bank to buy us shares of itself. And then we learn how to get the funding from the same bank to use that money to start businesses, whatever. We've now turned the bank into a trap house. You feel what I'm saying?
And then the business credit card gives you so many reward points.
There we go.
Free global entry.
Yep.
Now you get access into lounges when you travel. You get free food. You get free drinks. You get perks on upgrades. If you understand that once you get a certain status amongst a certain credit card, you can match that with other hotel chains, other airlines, car rentals. So now you're getting free car rentals. And like we travel, when I was real serious with just straight credit card hacking, I was getting Mustangs and SUVs for $6 a day, just because I understood the principle to eliminate overhead, and I want to drain this relationship of every reward and perk that they have, because everybody tells us to get good credit, but they don't tell us what to do with it. And that was my whole concept, was what do I do with good credit? Now I understand that I can go and I can get vehicles, 3 or 4 vehicles at a time, put them on Turo. Most people say cars is liabilities. We didn't keen in on turning liabilities into assets. So I can leverage my good credit, and you mean tell me I can go get an $8,000 vehicle, a Chevy Traverse, a Echo, right? These different vehicles, put them on Turo, and they profit me $1,200-$1,400 a month. It's a $300-$400 car note, but it's making me $2,000 a month. And I can go get 3 or 4 cars at one time from the bank. See, Bank of America will allow you to come get them on your business and they'll approve you up to a certain amount, and you can get multiple cars. So you go and get 3 or 4 cars, and you can put them on Turo. Now you're actually generating cash flow. Meanwhile, we went to school for them to tell us to go to work to make $40,000, $60,000 a year.
It's really, man, it's really egregious, the school system. You know, we were talking about this earlier today, how, you know, you go to a university, you're taking courses that have nothing to do with your major, right? So what is this really for? You know, and I like to play it safe. When people ask me for advice, should I go to school? I'm like, yeah. You know, that wasn't my route. I'm like, yeah, because I don't know your hustle. I don't know. Right. But I'm getting to where it's like, no, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You shouldn't.
I tell people no.
Yeah.
If you're over 25, 27, no.
Or especially that,
18 to 25, I only feel, because, and I'm going to tell you something,
Relationships.
Relationships
networking.
And maturity. I guarantee.
That was our point from earlier.
Guarantee every mistake, majority of the mistakes you made was between the age of 18 to 25. You, me. 18 to 25 is the most dangerous time in an adolescent's life. Why? Because now we're looking for money. We're looking to find ourselves. We don't have no real guidance, and we have no discipline, because most of us don't come from disciplined homes. I use an example with my students, is that I say, listen, in life, we're great. We're raised up with teachers and football coaches and parents that saying you can be whatever you want to be, but they're cradling us through. So as we coming through, I say, make it like football. When you come through the hole and they pushing you through, saying you got it, you can be what you want to be. You imagine running through the hole and you going, and then you hit 18, and that coach that says you could be what you want to be, your parents, everybody go hands off, and now the world is slapping you with sticks. Now they're hitting you on the back with bats and hitting you with ropes. And what is those ropes? That's financial responsibility. That's financial literacy. That's discipline to stay the course and stay focused on what you want to do. That's fighting temptation of being broke. That's sex. That's drugs. That's partying. Now all of these things are hitting you, and everybody that was there as you were coming up is gone, and they can't do nothing. At that point, you look and go, as I'm gonna fall victim to one of them. That's why I say college helps, because then it gives some kind of structured guidance of, at least let me get to an age where now I can know not to make the mistake. I fight the temptation of bareback sex, so I'm having kids early that I can't raise and properly parent. I'm fighting the fact of drugs and drug abuse or either drug abuse or selling drugs. I'm fighting the fact of breaking the law, doing things illegal to get ahead because I only want to be better and I want to make money. It's financial crimes. All of these things happen based off of money, sex, drugs, and irresponsibility. That's the most dangerous part, and that's the key. And then you make a mistake there that could set the tone for the rest of your life, unless you're a juggernaut that's going to come and make the adjustment, and then you correct it and let your testimony let your test become your testimony. That's the part where I look at and I say college is necessary there, or some kind of organized structure to help with discipline if you haven't already had it all the way up.
Yeah, we need to carry the youth a little bit longer to develop that maturity, and I think that's the best version of college. I mean, currently, if we go back 50 years, 75 years, a little bit longer even, college was not for everyone. It was for people who had like an intense desire for academia, for studying a subject. Now it's literally babysitting, but they make it 4 years long and hella expensive.
Can I correct one statement I made?
Sure.
I don't tell everybody not no to college. College is necessary for doctors, lawyers,
You have
different
to, though.
people.
Yeah.
Right.
But to make money, I tell people no. If it's financial reason why to go to college, I was taught to go to college because I wanted to make more money. I just want to correct that statement because it lives. If certain fields and expertise, you have to go to college. It's mandatory when you desire to do something and go to a certain level.
Right.
But don't go to college to say, I'm going to college to get a job, or I'm going to college to help me get into this industry to make money.
Yeah, because college itself is an industry. People need to know
I'm about to
that.
say that's the biggest. That's where America makes the most money next to pharmaceuticals. College.
Yeah, education is
College.
because it's not really that. It's literally just babysitting and
Yeah.
keeping people in a place and collecting money off of them. Because if it was about the education specifically, we would be making moves to try and make it free.
Yeah.
Just like how school is free. We use tax money for that, and it's paid for entirely. You just got to pay for your lunch. You know,
you think-
that's what it is.
You know, you think about it. People go to college 4 years, 8 years, and then spend the next 20 years
Trying to pay it.
trying to pay it. That in itself,
Egregious.
you feel what I'm saying?
we hear the horror stories, from time to time of student debt that seems to never be able to be paid off.
It will
And
never be paid
You
off.
guys probably hear even more, but I feel like you guys are really setting the stage for a whole new generation of people. You and others who are focused on teaching financial literacy and helping people like avoid these pitfalls that, like you said, if you fall in the wrong trap, you may never get out.
Yeah.
They may not have the hand up and out to get back on their feet. Life just might knock them down and they might stay down and then just get stuck in a life that, was not meant. They could have had a different life. It just, they didn't have the right circumstances for it.
What's important though is like when you were in prison, right, your perspective was different. I've been there, and you know how it is. People just, first of all, no one's supposed to be there. Everybody's,
I'm not guilty, man. It's not me.
I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Right. So when you have that kind of mindset, you're not gonna get better, right? And then take it a step further. All right, because I'm a bottom line person. Okay, like when things suck for everybody, it doesn't suck for me. I'm
Facts.
Like, look, calm down. We here. We got to be
Facts.
here. So
Facts.
let's make the best out of this.
Facts.
So for people to really grasp that and grasp the concept that life is literally what you make it, and just believe that, because it's so corny, but it's so true. You'd be surprised. Like, listen, y'all, like this man did 10 years in prison. This man is now a multimillionaire, and he developed his skill while he had to sit there. He wasn't gonna break out.
Yeah.
He had to do the time. So
Yeah.
he armed himself with knowledge and information to be able to come out and live the life that he wants, that the American dream. That's the American dream.
You said a key word there was perspective, right? My father went to prison when I was 8 years old. He get out 2027, right? When I got in trouble, I said, Dad, they don't got nothing. He's saying, giving them an IP address that said I did it. It's nothing concrete that said I had any involvement. It's all speculative. And he said, yeah, that's true. But they arrested you and let you bond out, and they let you go home. They gave you the ability to get your freedom back. It's your responsibility now to keep it. And two, if you get away with something that you played a part in, the worst thing that I see people come back and forth is because they think they can do it again. That's what put people here. And if you think that if you beat it, then will you feel that you can do it again don't learn from the mistake that you made? So figure out how not to get put back in here and Reset yourself so you don't make these kind of mistakes and make this habit. See, because it hasn't happened before, don't let it happen again. Don't make that a habit. And my perspective had to look at it and go, if I beat this and fight, well, I think I'm invincible and I can do it again.
Of course.
It would give me something, whether I know or not, subconsciously, I will go, yeah. Or I pay my consequence and have to deal with it for the mistake that I did make. I had to live with that. My perspective changed. That's why I was able to move forward. And that's why I was able to move forward. And when I speak to people, it's always, listen, how are you looking at the situation you're in today? Do you want to change it? How do you want to change it? Are you willing to take accountability? Only way you change is if you can have accountability for self.
Exactly.
And mistakes that you made. I'm in a position right now where I want to learn how to make more money. I'm struggling. I want to be a better father. Analyze the mistakes that you make and don't blame nobody else. Analyze everything that you've done wrong and correct that to be a better person. And if you can correct that before you ever make $1, if you can correct your perspective and your accountability of self, your life will change, because when you get in a business and something don't go right, you're quick to pivot and make adjustments based off of what you control.
I remember when I got found not guilty, it was one of the most exhilarating things ever. I've been held at gunpoint a few times, been in a few shootouts, but nothing compared to when I got found not guilty. But it also installed this bravado in me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like getting found not guilty is probably one of them things, man.
What did it give you? Because I got a story about mine too.
Yeah. So when I
see Tupac and Snoop walking out of the court.
like first, I was like, I remember going home and just sleeping for 9 hours because they deliberated for maybe 5 hours.
It's torture.
Yeah, it's torture.
So you had trial.
I went to trial.
Oh man.
Yeah, on the case where they kicked in my door, I went to trial.
Did they try and settle beforehand?
Nah, they wanted it. The reason why they wanted it too is because I had already went to prison for attempt murder on robbery. So I'm gonna be honest with you, the weed, the pills, they wasn't even tripping on that. The 223 and the 40 with an extended clip and a beam, we got you, bruh. That's an automatic convicting fellow with a firearm. And because of the caliber of the 223, I had went to prison already. I shot the dude with a 223. So for me to have the exact same gun and then have the 40 with an extended clip and a beam, I remember them telling the people in the jury that I was a trained urban assassin. I remember them saying that. And I remember my lawyer telling me before court, like, listen, they gonna say some stuff. Do not make any outbursts in here. Do not do that. And the minute I heard that, I was like, I wanted to say, you fucking lie, you lie. You know what I'm saying? But I couldn't. But I remember getting found not guilty and thinking, man, they can't fuck with me, man. You know what I'm saying? But then the reality, I'm a praying man. Even when I was doing wrong, I always was a prayer. And I prayed, and I remember hearing a voice like, I got you through that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not very often that you can get off on fruit of a poisonous tree. It's not often. And then for my second charge, I got overturned. We cobbed out to 10 years probation, and then it got overturned under what's called the Crosby plea. After we got that overturned, they stopped anybody in Louisiana from using that. Right? It's because it said that I only cobbed out because they wanted me to go to trial back to back. I could not do it. I didn't have the mental capacity to do it. And so you can't use it anymore. But I felt like yo, I'm like, once you get found out guilty, you just feel like, like that's kind of like the ultimate thing in the streets. Like surviving a shootout, getting shot, and getting found out guilty. That's the next level. That's a whole nother status for you. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, all right, hold up. Like that's where perspective came in. I had to step back and say, bruh, like you was blessed to get out of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's not take that for granted, right? Because what happens is once you beat a charge, you like the streets reward you for that. One, for being solid.
Yeah, you a hero.
You're a hero. Like, one, you stay solid. And two, you went through that whole process. Most people don't go through that process. Most people in the street, before they even say trial, it's like, yo, who can I tell on where I sign the papers at?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I felt the kind of bravado about that. And it was humbling for me to be able to step back and say, nah, man, like, you can't keep beating the system. It's not.
It's too mighty.
Yeah, it's
too
mighty. Yeah, you can't keep beating it. And so, again, being, fast forwarding, my whole mission now with investing in the stock market, I started this just to talk to hustlers. My whole objective was to talk to dudes in the street. If he was a hustler, if he was a stripper, if he was pimping, if he was prostituting, we all spoke the same language, right? Like, I'm not looking at a prostitute no different than I'm looking at the pimp. Like, we all in the same game hustling together. It's all love, right? Because you learn to respect all hustles. And so for me, it was saying, I need to start this. I want to do this because I want to teach us how to get out the streets. Because everybody not going to get found not guilty.
That's a fact.
Right? Everybody not going to get a charge overturned. One, you now become a target for the police. Once you beat the system and you get found not guilty and get a charge overturned, like, they know who you are. We're going to get you. Mm-hmm. We're going to get you. Like, because now you're broke. Most people, when you fight a charge, it takes everything you got.
Bro, I had when I had my case, they went ahead and took the liberty of throwing me in a gang unit, and I wasn't in a gang.
Right.
I'm like, excuse me. Right. And that is a 10-year enhancement on your sentence. So if you have a robbery in which the sentence is 2 years, you're doing 12. Okay? So I had to have a trial to prove that I wasn't a gang member. That ate my entire retainer.
Yep.
I had to start over. I didn't know how it worked. I'm like, well, I already paid you, but
no, this is for one.
So but when I didn't go to trial, right? I initially ran. I went on a run because they took me out of that gang unit, but they kept me with the gang prosecutor, who was just evil. Just evil. And the nature, if you read, you know how it is when they write everything up, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible, right? Every bullet is a charge, right? Every little thing. And they make it like that to scare you into a plea. Take a plea.
Yep.
So, and typically 90% of that goes away.
Yep.
So they're just like 10 years. I'm like, I have no priors. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This is defending my house. Like, what are you talking about, right? So it was getting closer and closer. I'm like bluffing them, like, let's go to trial.
Right.
I'm not gonna accept 10 years. Right. Y'all gotta come grab me and pull me. You know what I'm saying? It's like my kids will be teenagers. Nah.
Yes.
So I ran, and that's not I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. It's not the right thing to do, but it's what I felt I needed to do.
That in itself is a different life.
Man, it was. I felt like it took all my joy, all my happiness, right? So I'm out, and every day, I was a fugitive for 7 years. That doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Cats get caught immediately.
Yes.
Or they hustling and get caught doing it. It's always my mother sent me a message, said, baby, just know that when they catch you, it's gonna be worse.
Yep.
I said, I take my chances.
Yep.
I did the math in my head real quick though, before I say anything. Like, I'm not going to prison for 10 years. I didn't do anything to warrant that, right?
Right.
I can't see that happen. I'm not doing it. So I left, and that shit was rough. It was like I'm stripped down to my soul. Money gone. Like, rep. This was the cold part. So y'all need to stay out the streets, because the streets has no loyalty.
Facts.
The people that I was putting jewelry on when they came out of prison, putting up in apartments, I'm buying, getting the party bus we go out. I'm doing the most at all times, right? None of them, they laughed. That nigga's done. They celebrated and what looked like my demise. You know what I'm saying? Because weak people can't they can't let their nuts hang around strong people. Mm-hmm. So when you go down, bro, it was
That's a bar.
that part was one of the hardest things because it wasn't like I wasn't even sad. I was enraged.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And there was moments when I wanted to go back to that state and pop up on people's doors. Like, fuck my life. Fuck up my life, but fuck their lives up too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad I didn't. But that period, you know, I had to deal with those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I had to really like ask myself, are you a bad person? Are you the person that they're making you out to be? Mm-hmm. Well, this is your time to prove it. You know what I'm saying? So your boy was literally homeless, and this was not long. It was like 10 years ago, 9 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I had to humble myself, and I sold drugs, but like big time. You know what I'm saying? Like from the West Coast, I was sending hundreds of pounds to the East Coast, down in Georgia and up in New York, Detroit, and these are wholesaling my shit. And depending on who I got out there, depending on how much, if I get it back at 2x or 75%, whatever. So I went from having everything to being homeless.
Yeah.
That's the worst. When you just kind of in the streets already and you homeless, it ain't nothing.
Yeah.
But when you have a life and you're the guy, that shit was rough. But I had to swallow it.
Punch that ego.
I had to swallow it, bro. And I got a job. I did all kind of research. The NCIS, do this flag my passport, do the IRS show anything if I fill out the paperwork for a job? Because I wasn't going to get a fake ID. That would have been even worse. You know what I'm saying? So I'm figuring out how I could do this. Because somebody told me, a good friend of mine, he said, hide in plain sight. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I did. I said, all right, got a job. Oh, cool. You know what I'm saying? Everything. I even left the country. It's certain things that are flagged. And what my charge was not, it doesn't get flagged by NCICS. So I'm making these moves and I'm living my life. And I'm like, shit, they must don't care.
Right.
I'm training people. That's what I think. Training people. And my content started getting more and more popular. And I didn't want it to. I'm like, fuck. Because initially it was just my clients and my content. And I was putting videos up of them or whatnot to get more clients. And it was working. Every now and then I like put myself up doing a workout.
Right.
And they was loving it. I'm like, oh, fuck, maybe they don't care. And then my clientele happened to be cops.
Oh, wow.
Cops and military dudes. They just love that rough that hardcore training. Yikes. I'm like, this is crazy, right? So then I started getting really popular. YouTube, everything. I couldn't stop it. I'm like, well, we'll see what happens. But every day I had a dark cloud over me. Capping, like, I could never laugh too hard. They'd be like, what are you laughing at? They might be at your house right now. Today could be the day. Every day. So this one fateful day, me and my boy Chai, we sparring. We at the gym. And my dog was a puppy. We was done. I took him outside to take him for a walk. And the dude walking in the gym, it was just weird. He didn't belong. And I got used to my level of surveying areas is like cop level. You know what I'm saying? Because I had to think like them. I could tell you a undercover cop anywhere to this day. I know where they at. You know what I'm saying? So I had this dude walk in. It was just weird. I spoke to him. Like, how you doing, man? It made him nervous. That was weird. Sheriff's car, unmarked. Sheriff, unmarked. U.S. Marshals, the cavalry. What's your name? You tell me.
Facts.
So the guy was a gentleman, though, because the marshals come hard. But he was a gentleman. He said, look, because he been on my case for a while I was always like a couple days ahead of them. You know what I'm saying? By the time they figured it out. 7 years later. So he said, look, man, you're a good person. You do a lot of good for a lot of people. Just get this behind you and move on with your life. I was like, man, thank you. But in my head, I'm like, ain't no moving on. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to be in the box. So I go through the whole process. And it was bad. It was because you have what's called a FOJ, a Fugitive Justice Enhancement. So my bond is now $500,000, right? I got to be extradited to another state. So they had me in the max security everywhere I'm at. It's like, come on, guys. Like, this is over the top. You know what I'm saying? So I finally get in a position to bond out. And then I hired a fire-ass attorney. Shout out to Mr. Russo. That's my guy.
Yeah.
Love you to death. And he was so confident. And it felt like my first day meeting with him. I'm like, so what do you think? What's your strategy? He's like, just beat this shit. Like, he was so confident. Like, I'm just beat it. Like, what are you worried for? Like, you don't know who I am?
Yeah.
So it was a year of going back and forth, and that shit is just stressful.
Yep.
So every time, every month, getting better and better, better and better, better and better. Then he got to where they dropped it. They classified it from one crime, which is almost the worst crime that it can be, to one underneath that. I'm like, okay, but do I have to go to prison? He said, well, there's a danger tag on it, so yeah. I was like, can you ask him to take that off? He said, okay. They took it off. That's it. It was that easy. Can you ask him to take that off? And they took the shit off. I'm like, wow. So I said, I'll take it. He said, no. I want to get the stone all the way out.
Yeah.
So I said, look, Mr. Russo, I appreciate everything you've done. I just need, because I don't care about a job. You know what I'm saying? I don't care about having a felony. I just want to be done with this because my life is still, I can get in trouble. Anything can happen before this is adjudicated, and it can be worse. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, all right, you say so. So they offered like 3 years of probation and anger management, something like that. Right? So go down for sentencing, and the judge, you know, they don't have to accept the plea. And this judge was mean. She was
scariest day of your life. But they said they have to accept that plea.
I can't run now. There's nothing. I got to just ride it out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mr. King, if this was being this is a very, very peculiar case. If this was being adjudicated closer to the time that this happened, you'd be going to prison right now. But it wasn't. And the court see that you're not a criminal. Get out of my courtroom. What?
Yeah.
I get in the elevator by myself, and I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to having that dark cloud.
That
it was
pressure.
7 years.
Yeah.
And it's not there. It's like I needed it. It was like a comfort. As weird as that sound, I was so used to having that.
It kept
that
you
dark.
on.
Yeah, bro. So now, and this is the thing I try to tell people all the time. During that process, that was a year. If people, I can show people specific videos, training videos of mine on YouTube, where my wardrobe changed because I had a big ankle bracelet. A GPS bracelet is different than a regular ankle bracelet. It's this big, right? Metal all the way around it. You walk, it cuts into your skin. You got to plug it in the wall 5 hours a day, right? You got to sit. I got to sit by the wall 5 hours a day, right? You drive by a Greyhound or airport, they call you from the thing, talking shit, disrespectful too. You guys got to. And I'm a alpha type of dude.
Right.
So that, what the fuck are you doing at the Greyhound? Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, just driving by. Driving by.
Go in the store.
You know what I'm saying? So at this time, that was very crushing and depressing. You know what I'm saying? So, because at this point, I've built up a very good life with businesses. You know what I'm saying? Now they came and got me, and I'm like, what a idiot, right? So I was depressed, but that's a natural thing that happens. But I didn't sit down to it. Kept filming my YouTube videos. I would wear boots, cargo pants, and tuck it under so you couldn't see the ankle bracelet. I didn't stop progressing my career and my life. I kept proceeding like I had no problems. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I try to tell people, that's why I'm the wrong person for somebody to give an excuse to. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, for sure.
I had so much pressure on me. Every time I walk, I feel this shit digging
So you
in
built
me.
your brand
During that
trying
as
time.
a fugitive.
and that, like, for people watching, what I just took away from that is that sometimes it, like they say, your success takes a shot at you. What you gonna do now? Become unsuccessful, right? You think about it in that room is that a lot of times we don't have the pressure to go out and work, so they don't go and do it. See, you got put under pressure before you was comfortable, whatever environment you was in, doing what you was doing, you was comfortable doing it. So you was comfortable living how you was living. It made you uncomfortable, but it expanded your vision. That's the part where, like, you wouldn't be here if that didn't happen. Now you look back at everybody who turned their back on you in that trying time, the people who you looked out for, the people you was comfortable with. It showed you and revealed to you. The universe has a unique way of revealing who's who. And the thing is that I tell anybody that when you watch this is that when something gets revealed to you and the universe shows you, believe it the first time. It's not a time for a second time to reveal who's who. And from that, when you create and you take that as a learning experience, keep moving forward. Sometimes we see things and don't take action. You was forced to take action. Trap was forced to take action. I've been forced to take actions and do things because I couldn't go back to work. Couldn't work a 9 to 5. It was not in me. But now we look and go, we're in a position that it made us tougher. But we could have took a major loss and wouldn't be here to tell our story. We have to, like, our communities and people who are up and coming, learn from it and just have that grit and sustainability without that. Without going through the problems, because it's harder. It's harder, and we still got to deal with that pain from that. Because it's things that you lost, it's friends and people that you really loved. It's like, man, we probably could have had a better relationship, could have did more. But it's so much that gets strained.
And you can't, like, when I really take inventory on the people in my life at that time, and I'd be like, fuck this person, fuck that person. But then I had to think about it. I was the leader back then. Like, I'm a leader now. Like, I've always been a leader, whatever stage of life I was in. But I'm leading them into darkness. So how can I really be mad at them for not hanging around long? You know what I'm saying? When I really hit rock bottom, you know? So the anger that I have for them is gone. You know what I'm saying? And not that I want to spend time with these people, because I still look at actions and it's like, what have you done with your life? You know what I'm saying? I was okay. So that's one thing right there. But I have no anger, no hatred towards them. But I use my energy to, like, really try to, like, communicate to the people that listen. And this is what I'm glad that y'all are here, because y'all have a wealth of knowledge and information and tactics, actual tangible tactics that people can use to better their lives, right? And I be trying to teach people certain things too, and just on a personal level, because they follow me, the training baits them in. You know what I'm saying? That's the low hanging fruit. But it's so much more that I try to give people, you know, in terms of, like, that grit without being arrested, without, you know what I'm saying? Because there's certain things that you can do to really toughen your resolve, your spirit. Just figure out how to suffer, but in a way that is beneficial for you, and learn how to deal with that stress, because dealing with stress is our best friend. Yeah, 100%. You're gonna deal with it.
Stress test.
You're gonna deal with it, right? And any type of stress makes you stronger. It is what it is. So when we can learn how to really be resilient to stress and sturdy, man, life is easy.
No, for sure. One of the things that helped me just recently, I would advise everybody to try to go skydiving.
Didn't y'all just do it? Oh, yeah,
Bungee
bungee.
jumping.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bungee
but I've been skydiving.
Yo,
Bungee jumping a little bit different
yeah,
too.
they got me tied up, man.
They're both crazy.
So I went to Dubai, and the first I talked to Marcus and them about it. I went scuba diving inside of the aquarium in Dubai, and I always say that you get better when you get uncomfortable. You get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? You get better because life will always put you in an uncomfortable position, right? If you ever think you're going to be successful at anything and it's not going to be uncomfortable, you will be faced with a rude awakening.
Correct.
Right? So I go scuba diving, and there's about 15 sharks in the tank. But on that journey, the first thing was the pressure to my ear. So one of my ears popped, but this one it didn't pop. So I'm feeling that pressure. It was like really got. And the deeper you go, it gets worse. Right?
Like your head gonna explode.
Oh my! I was like, God damn. But it wound up leveling out. And then once that leveled out, a shark bumps me. I tell him that, he was like, nah, bro. I'm
with you, bro.
He like, up. So, first one of them comes in front of me, and I'm like, damn, like, I'm really tripping right now. You know what I'm saying? And then you learn that sharks are blind. They only see you when you're up close, and they don't attack the way that we think they do. So one of the things they tell you is not to make sudden movements, and if a shark is above you, don't blow the bubbles, right? And so I don't want to figure out why not to blow the bubbles, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. And they're like, when they're in front of you, don't swim, just put your hands right here. So I'm like, oh, cool, I pay attention to that. And then as I get down to the 152 feet, which is the bottom of the aquarium floor, I look to the side. There's 4 sharks just looking at me.
Wow.
Just looking at me. They just swimming. They in neutral. They just here. And I'm like, damn, I'm tripping. You hear me? But it just brung something out of me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is that shit. And that's when the man tells you, like, keep your head on a swivel. Like, always pay attention to, because they move like they move, like sharks move in a different way. Usually when one moves, there's another one really close behind. So if you make a move and one hits, the other one gonna hit. Like, it is no second guessing it. So when the one bumps me, I'm like, what the hell? And he goes past me. He's like, I felt like he was trying to check me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I say that to say that was adversity. That was an uncomfortable situation for me. But that uncomfortableness made that much fun. It made me enjoy that much more. The same thing when it came to, that really propelled me to say, yo, I'm about to go jump out of a plane. Right? So when I do the skydiving, the next day, I'm 15,000 feet in the air. And I'm like, yo, this shit is crazy. Like, what the hell? Why did I decide to jump out of this perfectly fine plane? Right? And so instead of having a 1, 2, 3 jump, the dude goes 1 and we jump. Right? Catches me completely off guard. And at first I'm like,
does he do that because people are trying to stop themselves?
Most people, it's in your mind. Not, 1, 2, 3, I ain't ready. Right? So he's like, all right, cool, we gonna go. I'm like, and so you feel him yank back the first time, and I'm like, okay, in my mind, you think 1, 2, 3. He goes 1, we gone. And I'm like, yo, why did you do that, man? Like, I'm in my mind, like, what are you doing? Why are you? And then I look and I'm like, once I realize like I'm not about to die, right? It became the most powerful thing I've almost ever did in my life. Wow. Cause I'm looking at Dubai and I'm like, yo, turn this bitch up. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's do something. So we go down and we do some stuff. Oh, shit. And it's amazing. But you overcome that. I'm comfortable with getting uncomfortable.
Right.
And that helped me in so many different parallels, you know, in my life. And it's for every tough situation you face, if you've built enough skin and wherewithal to get through, on the other side, it's going to add something to your armor and you start feeling like, yo, it's nothing I can't do. And so now when I look at him as my sparring partner, when he say he's about to hit a new level, it tells me to crank it up. And when I say I'm going to crank it up, I know that in order to get to the next level, I am going to face some type of adversity that I didn't plan for. But I've built up so much wherewithal, and I can go back into my muscle memory and think about the things I went through to get me here. This wasn't an easy path. Right? So in order to get to that next level, I'm already understanding that this is not going to go according to plan. How do I adjust along the way? It's not about having it figured out. It's about being able to adjust on the fly.
Right. There is no figuring
There is no rule book.
You get out there and you make it happen. I always say, is this term I say, feel the walls. Like, it's dark. I'll go around that dark corner. I'm cool with that. You know, like Sean, I drug Sean out with me to we go feed the homeless, right? Like, go in the slums. You know what I'm saying? So at night, and it's like, let's go. The first time I did it, it was me and my son, right? And he was like 7, and you know, we in some grimy area, just me and him. And he's like, Dad, he's like pulling my sweater. Cause one dude popped out the bus station like a wraith, like a ghost. You know what I'm saying? Just
right.
You know what I'm saying? And he looked crazy, and so I just did the math in my head real quick. I'm like, if something was to happen, he needs to see this, because I'm trying to do something out of kindness, and we'll see. The dude was so happy. Gave him a sweater, gave him some food. He hugged me. I didn't want to hug him, but he hugged me. I hugged him back, and my son was like, I said, so we don't live in fear. That's not a thing. You know what I'm saying? When you're doing the right thing, is nothing to fear. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that I literally live by. You know what I mean? Like, I don't fear anything. Even if I fear it, I don't fear it. Nobody will know I fear it, and I'm gonna walk into it with my head up, my chest out. You know what I mean? So that is a tactic, man. And people finding things to stressful thing. Even training is stressful. It's hard. You know what I'm saying? Jogging, if you don't like running, it's hard.
Yes.
Burpees is hard. I program it in my stuff because I'm like, I know this is tough. It's going to toughen y'all up. You know what I'm saying? It ain't about losing weight or whatever. This is for this. You know what I'm saying?
Let me say this though, them new burpees you came out with is crazy.
Oh yeah.
That is bananas, man. God,
It's
me,
fun.
man.
But see, that's all. It comes from like when I was locked up. I still worked out.
Yep.
We figured out, okay, what can we do here? Broomstick against the stairs.
Yeah.
You stand on the broomstick. We bench.
Yeah.
pressing. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
all kind of different things. It's just that creativity. It's like I have a no excuse policy
that's a
for
fact.
anything.
Nah.
So okay, you don't have a gym, access to a gym. You don't need it. You get a beastie workout with your body and right here. You know what I'm saying? And we provide people with that. So that's all from like, you know, it's interesting, man. Like, you know, a lot of us come from undesirable places and with meager life standards. And, you know, growing up, you feel like people look down on you and like, you're disgusting, y'all dirty, you're this, you don't, oh, you don't even have this. And it's like, yo, this is beautiful what we got.
Yeah.
'Cause we living. Just like when we went to Haiti, these people had nothing. They wasn't tripping. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you got to really look at people when they don't have much. Those are the gems.
That's a
Those
fact.
are the gems. Those are the people that you really like. Let me get close to them.
Learn something from.
Let me get close to them because their brain is thinking on such a creative way. You know what I mean? And so much beauty comes out of ingenuity. I always bring it back to rap music to people. Rap music, for those who don't know, a little history lesson.
Come on, man.
It started in the 70s. It was a people, usually black and Latinos in the hood, who didn't have access to or couldn't afford music lessons. You know, they liked music. Their parents had the records. You play one record over here and another section of the record over here. Like, oh, that's kind of fly. You know what I'm saying? And then the MC or the DJ, everybody
Scratching.
whatever.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And that's how the shit started. And now it is the biggest. There is no genre of music that had the impact that hip hop has had on culture and on this world. You know what I'm saying? So that came out of people who didn't have fancy instruments. You know what I'm saying? And instruments are beautiful. I'm not shitting on that. But didn't have those things. They were just scratching up their parents' records. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a lot of beauty in that void in places where people don't have shit. You know what I'm
Hell
saying?
yeah. Let me say two things. One thing you said is about fear. I have this acronym I created: finally exiting average reality. Right? Finally exiting average reality. You know what I'm saying? And what happens is, no matter what level you on, I feel like once you get comfortable, that becomes the average. Right? That's your average level. Right? And so in order to overcome that fear, in order to overcome that average, you have to take yourself to the next level. Right? You have to say, like, what is next? How can I be better? Like, I never want to get comfortable. Right? Because once you get comfortable, you lose that it factor. Right? There's a reason why LeBron spends $1 million a year on his physical regime, eating, working out, is because he knows if he gets comfortable, I'm just the greatest, I'm one of the greatest, then there's always somebody up and coming. And if you get too comfortable, you can't, I'm not going to give you my spot. You got to take it from me. Right? That's why in boxing, right? Most times you can't just outpoint the champ to get the belt. You got to beat him. Right? And so you can't get comfortable. So I always say that with fear, never fertilize the fear. You fertilize the fear by feeding it, saying, okay, it's dark. I know what can happen in the dark. I know this can happen. You're fertilizing it, right? Never fertilize the fear. The next thing was when you talked about those people in those impoverished parts. When I was in Africa, man, I was in Tanzania. So we say Tanzania. That's completely wrong. And people will get on you about saying that like that. And I remember I was taking my COVID test to go to Kenya. And while everybody was in line taking their test, there was this guy, man. He was just sitting on a rock. And you can tell, you know, he didn't have it, right? And so after I take my test, I go over there and I walk over there. I walk by him. He's just sitting on a rock and he's reading. He's just reading. So I walk over there. I say, man, I said, excuse me, King. I say, what are you reading? He says, documents. I said, you know, what kind of documents? He said, I write. I just write a lot and I keep tabs of what I'm doing. I said, oh, cool. And I see behind him, he has like his shirts and stuff hung up. So just 2 and 2, like he's homeless or he doesn't have a crib or something. So I said, well, where you from? He says, I'm from the mainland. So in Tanzania, there's the mainland and there's the island. So I say, why don't you go back? He said, I haven't been back in like 3 years. I say, why? He said, because I can't afford to get back. So I'm like, damn, you can't go. I'm like, he's like, nah. He said, but I'm not worried about it. I'm like, why? He said, because a traveling man, this blew my mind. He said, you learn more in travel than you can in a book. The more you learn in travel, he said, that's what I'm reading. Everything I've learned as I travel, I write it down and I go back over it. So I said, so what have you learned? Right? He said, my favorite thing to learn about is philosophy. So I said, why philosophy? He said, because it's the study of questions. Mind you, this is a man sitting on a rock, yo. Real talk. He said, philosophy is the study of questions. He said, the more questions I ask in life, the more I will learn. And I can only ask those questions as I travel, because as I travel, I see new things and they create more questions for me to ask. Wow. This is a man sitting on a rock, yo. And I said, damn. I reached in my pocket. He said, nah, you don't got to give me that. I said, nah. You just fed me. I said, you just fed me. I give him like $20 American money. He says, nah, I'll go home.
Wow.
Nah, I'll go home. This is enough for him to take the ticket to go home.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yo, that changed, like that moment, I will never forget that. He was just sitting on a rock, just washed his clothes. He's sitting there, he just reading through the book. That moment changed me, man. And so that just to go into what you said about, because there was no stress. It wasn't no, man, I don't know how I'm gonna get home. He was like, nah, I will get there. Like, he's like, I got kids, I got 2 kids, I got a wife, I'll get there. I'll get, like, there's no stress there.
Life over there is so different.
It changed my life, man.
It's so different.
I did 4 weeks in 4 countries, man. It changed my life, man. Definitely.
I was watching, bro, and I was like, man, I wish I was there with my bro. You know, I wish I was there. You know, even just to stand amongst the pyramids, just to be in that presence. You know what I'm saying?
That was different.
That's.
I wanted to bombard so bad.
Yeah.
I wanted to bombard so bad.
Man.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, I gotta let Trap have that.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, I'm in Dubai. I'm sitting there like, that's 10 hours. I could leave now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I gotta, you know. He was like, I'm going skydiving. I'm like, I went skydiving one time.
Yeah.
Okay.
He didn't even know I've been skydiving, right? I'm like, I'm watching him just go. And I told him, yeah, I've been skydiving. And the only time he was like, it was exonerating. He was like, man, I want to go back and do it again 7 times. And I'm sitting there like, nah, I did it once. And I was like, nah, I don't want to never do it again unless I did it in Dubai. Just because of the look. That was the only reason. Yeah. I have no desire to do it again, right? He enjoyed it, scared the shit out of me. Like, I'm like, nah. That jump out was like, yo, cool. Or the whole time down, I'm just thinking, how's the ground going to feel? So all I was thinking, like, yo, how does it feel when I hit the ground? That was it, right? But I'm watching, and I watched him in Dubai, and I'm just looking and going, yo, it's just the travel. Going to, like you said, the pyramids, seeing them in Africa. You know, I done been to a few countries myself, but it's different. It's just, you know what you get when you travel. You know how it feels. So when you see somebody traveling, I'm like, man, I know what that's like. Yeah. Like, I'm sitting there like, man, I want to go.
Were you with people or were you alone?
I was dolo. Yo, I figured out, I did everything on the fly. I had no agenda. I had no itinerary.
Wow.
When I went to Tanzania, a company brought me out there to do 2 master classes on investing. One on Wall Street Looks Like Us Now, which is a title that was something I created. Then the next one was on family SOPs, something else I created. And they paid for me to come to Tanzania and do that with them. From there, I was out there for 6 days. From there, I booked my team booked me everything. I had no itinerary. I wanted, so, and mind you, it's coming from where we come from, like that whole thing was just different for me. I've never left the country, let alone my first time. I'm in Africa
By myself.
by myself. Wow. Real me? And I'm literally figuring it out as I go. Like every day was man, what we gonna do today, man? That was a sense of freedom because even in that month, I didn't even worry about my business. I told my team, like, don't call me, don't talk to me about business. I want to enjoy this whole 30-day trip. I don't want to worry about business. I don't worry about nothing back home. Nothing. I only called my daughter. Then she asked me to bring her lion back. But that was it. So, like, in every country, man, I just got to feel for something different. I will say that Tanzania was important to me because it was the first place I ever went in Africa. Being in an Indian Ocean, I jumped in that water. I felt like my spirit got cleansed and everything. Kenya, Nairobi, it picked me up a little bit because they moving, like they doing a lot out there. But the shift truly happened when I hit Egypt. I had been studying Egypt for years while I was in prison. Again, knowing about it as Kemet, knowing about the history, knowing about the culture, knowing about what we built, right? And so my favorite black man of all time is Malcolm X. And I understood the pivot that happened to his life when he went there. It's crazy how things align because I wound up praying in the same mosque that he prayed in. And I didn't know it until I looked at the picture. Said the Adhan, I said prayers with Muslim brothers over there. That changed me in a whole nother way. Going through the pyramids, I mean, all like, yo, like, this phenomenal, right? Going inside them. And then seeing the first pyramid that was built, the Step Pyramid by King Doja, right? I'm looking at that and you can still see the whole, you see the pyramid and you see the whole layout. Like it's still original, everything around it. And he built it on Upper Egypt. Wow. So he had the smart to say, I want the world to marvel at this.
The first one.
It's the first one in Egypt. It's the Step Pyramid. Like he had he went to his Imhotep. If people don't know, like Imhotep was the first multi-genius in the world. Right. So he goes to Imhotep.
The true father of medicine.
The true father of medicine. The first person to do a brain surgery. The first person to do a amputation. Right. And so he goes to him and he says that. And so just the mindset to say, I want to build something that the world will marvel at. He built it in Upper Egypt. So Egypt is broken to Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt. And so he builds that. And then for me to do that, for me to then go inside of these tombs where you see the hieroglyphics. And I'm just like, I'm blown away. And for it to be 100
and it doesn't look like what you
not
see
at
on
all.
TV.
Not at all. And then for you to think that it's 100, it was 107 degrees. Mm-hmm. But for it to be cool inside of those tombs, like there's air conditioning. You like how?
It's just the shafts, right?
Yeah, you like how? Right? You like, yo, it's
people are brilliant.
It's 40 degrees cooler inside of those things.
See, here's the thing. So we had that part of the world, Kemet. Where's Nubia at? Inside of
It's not far. It's right there. It's not far.
But these places in Ghana were like the cradles of like wisdom, right? So you familiar with the Kemetic mystery system?
Yes.
It was the 40-year. You about to fall asleep?
Nah.
40-year a 40-year educational program, right? Science, mathematics, and
philosophy
and
medicine.
Mysticism, shit. And you know, in America, the Western world, our civilization is based off of Greek philosophies, Greek teachings. And the Greeks they were solid, but their teachers were us.
Yes,
with Kemet.
100%.
Now, not one of their scholars ever did a full course of learning in Kemet. None of them. So it's partial knowledge.
Yes.
Right?
So the question is, what was lost? Like, what was it?
What
told?
was lost?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So these brilliant methods of getting air
And-
in
and
out,
light, and light.
light, and they were using diamonds,
Yes.
prisms,
Yes.
like storing sunlight all
Yes.
day, and you know what I mean. Just it's stuff beyond my. We don't even. You know, they sacked and they destroyed our library, all the libraries, the universities, all of that, right? To stifle for people to not, because they had
Understand.
to justify
Yeah.
the colonialism. Like, these people are barbarians. They've contributed nothing. So, you know, just a little history lesson for y'all. So these structures were destroyed. These libraries
Hell
were
yeah.
destroyed. All of that wisdom is destroyed. So it's egregious that we don't even get that. We get partial knowledge. So we'll never know maybe
Yo, it's
the wisdom of those and why geographically they're located where they are.
and that's for a reason too. Like they
Yeah.
are geographically, the pyramids are set up like they align with the stars and like
And for these people to be able to chart these things,
Yeah.
you know, it's. I got a similar story I want to share with you. You said when you went to the mosque and you prayed with them there. When I was in the UAE, I prayed with the brothers in the mosque too, and I would go as often as I could. I was praying 5 times a day, but sometimes I pray at the crib. But I would go as much as I could, and I know all my prayers in Arabic. You know, I can't translate it though.
Salute.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so it was more of a meditation for me, you know, and it was like it really changed my life in a profound way, because here I am in a room with a bunch of men who just want to be good people.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
we're taking time out of our day to postulate and to submit to the will of God, right? And you're praying 5 times a day, you don't have time in your mind for foolishness. You don't have time to lust.
Yep.
You don't have time.
It always
to,
corrects you.
Right. Those things don't even come into your mind. And, you know, I came back a changed man, you know. I'm still changing. I'm ever evolving.
every day.
You know. And I ain't perfect. You know what
None
I mean?
of us
But
are.
that was a huge acceleration in my progression of being an upright person, you know, and it's a lot to that, man. And it was so when you're telling me that story, I felt that. I remember that. And that'll never leave my memory and my heart, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evolution of us as men, it's an everyday process. We talked about something about before this. We talked about the man will get judged on his ability to provide.
Yes.
Right? We talked about that, right? And like women get judged off how they look and all of that. But men, we only get judged off one thing, and that's how that we can provide. And I think one of the things outside of that doesn't get looked at is the nature of the man itself, right? His belief system, his faith, right? His ability to think through situations, right? His ability to withstand adversity, right? We know that gold is tested not by how shiny it is, but how can it withstand the fire, which is how real gold is tested, right? And so for man, it's the same way. And for me, not to just, I know we talking about financial literacy, we talking about some things, but for me,
we talking about just leveling
life,
people
yeah.
up.
And I think that the thing for me is the ability to connect to something bigger than yourself is what helps define and ground you as a man. Because what happens is every day, man, you're going to be tested, especially if you're going out here hunting. You say that all the time. Every day I got to hunt, right? And so if we out here we got to go kill something every day to hunt. That comes with something. As you go hunt, there's hyenas, there's cheetahs, there's so many other different predators out here. So how do you get tested? And that's that system that you're grounded to. That's what helps you get through anything as that alpha male, as that male. Like in Africa, there's the Maasai tribe. And your level of manhood is tested once you can kill a lion.
Right.
What's your acronym for fear again?
Finally exiting average reality.
I think that's like directly in line with what we've been saying. Because there's a whole community that would advocate that the circumstances are the way they are, and that we have to just navigate them. Not that we can change the reality. There's no room for that in some people's mind, and we are like not with that. Just completely cannot accept that to the point where almost like if you can't get past that, we're fundamentally different, and that's okay. But
And
you just have
it's
to go.
okay for you to be like
yeah,
that.
you just have to go do that over there because we can't even talk anymore. Because you've already put a limit on how much we can achieve and change and grow. We can't speak anymore.
That's heavy.
Like, what's the point of anything we're going to talk about?
Y'all will be surprised.
Everybody can't go. That's the hardest part as a leader, as a man, a woman, and as a human.
Or can't, or they won't go.
They can't go.
They can't.
Because you have to make a decision that this boat got to sail with or without you. And the only people I want is the people that's willing to paddle and go up this creek. And a lot of times people get stuck in the fact of, I got friends who don't believe in me or they don't see my vision, and not realizing that they're not harming you, you're harming you because you allow them access to you. When you deny people access to you and realize the only people I want to go is the people who want to go up this river, the people who are willing to go. Why? Because if I convince you to go, you're not going to row. You're not going to want to use the paddle because you don't believe that we can achieve what's possible and that we can change this sick reality of where we've been stuck at. So we sitting here on this little island with a boat in front of us and paddles, and we going, man, that water moving too fast. Ain't nobody came back. Or it's not possible for us to be wealthy. It's not possible for us to run businesses. Our parents been sitting here on this rock. We might as well sit on this rock and be accustomed to throwing rocks in, getting our little fish out that we can eat, and only eating from the shallow part of the river. Right? When you realize everybody can't go, I specify and stand on it. I don't care what you look like. I don't care where you come from. This ain't a black thing. It's not a white thing. It's not an Asian thing. It's not a Mexican, not a Jew. The fact of the matter is that if you have vision to be better and to want to change, you can do it. You're welcome to come. I don't care if you look like me and we come from the same place. If you're not willing to work, you can't come. And some people are better left in an ignorant state because we have to focus on those who can make change. Focus on the ones who can. When we get to where we focus on and we're working with people who understand it, then they have impact on the ones who they can change, who are going to look at them and say, okay, I see that you did it. I think I can do it. The ones who say we can't or it's not possible, cool, just stay there. Eventually you change or eventually you die. But we must go. And if everybody can pick that up, like he said, fear, changing your average reality. We can go. Now it's a reality. Now we're moving. So when you look at everybody here, 90% or something like that of millionaires was self-made. So a majority of people not coming from trust funds and coming from wealthy families. Most of the new millionaires were self-created. Those are the people who believe that they could. That's why I sit around the people who believe they could, and I believe we can, and we going to keep doing it. It's just a reality to it.
Heavy.
Trap didn't said it. You don't even know. Trap just said this. He set us up for something now because I can't unthink what I think. Trap said it was something different about being in these countries. Mike is talking about it, going, studying the different philosophies. I said, man, we finna go around the world in 30 days. I just thought about that.
I now know you about to hit me with, yo, we about to go somewhere.
We going around, we doing 7 cities, 7 days tour, educating. After that, spiritually educating for ourselves.
I can hear this.
It's brotherhood.
Let's take a flight, bro.
30 days, we going to go around the world. We're going to take 30 days and go to every single place that we can around the world, go around the world in 30 days, and come back and go back to work.
Yeah.
Can't see it.
Listen, I am so glad y'all came today.
Man, that's a blessing for both of us.
Really, this was so much more than I expected. You know what I'm saying? For real.
Appreciate that, King, for sure.
You know, I think so too, because we do have the opportunity to be around a lot of cool people, but being cool doesn't mean everything, and making money doesn't mean everything either.
Oh, for sure.
But I really believe that the work that you guys are doing is setting the stage for something big, a shift in the future, and an opportunity. And like you said, it's not a white thing, it's not a black thing, it's not any type of color thing. It's a circumstances versus possibilities thing, and you're shining light on the ability of anyone who wants it to go after it and get it. We've been trying to outline that for people's health, right? We've taken that approach, and that's where we've been living at and trying to do everything possible We have our own stories and reasons about why that is inspiring to us to try and get people healthier. But you guys are doing the same thing in the financial space, and that's why we have to be together, because these things go together.
Hell yeah.
You know, health is wealth, and sometimes you got to have money to be able to create the right circumstances for yourself to be healthy. They go together.
Hell yeah.
So it's important.
It makes it easier.
It's
yeah.
important for our audiences, people who are all on fitness but don't have anything going for themselves otherwise, and don't have that financial literacy yet, to get that, and vice versa. Vice versa.
It's both a struggle, right?
Yeah, it is.
I don't have a problem making money. That damn 30-day challenge almost died, right? And I'm like, yo, my head is spinning. I'm laying on the floor going these burpees after this, and I'm going, yeah, it just sounds so easy. And it's a struggle. That's something I struggle with, right? And that's why when I connect with him, I'm like, okay, I'm going to purposely build relationships with people who have mastered that. Because now I know I have a struggle and a problem that I have to overcome. See, okay, you made the money. Now fix that.
Yeah.
And now it goes, this is harder.
Yeah.
Right? Because now mentally I've done this. Like you said, it's no excuses. It's just the same way I've been able to master financial literacy, master business, master and growth in this. I have to master my health.
You have to make yourself uncomfortable by eating things you don't necessarily like, eating less of what you like. You know what I'm saying? Getting up early, whether start out with a walk, bro.
Yeah.
A 2-mile walk until you're going to start running it, because it's going to be like, this is too easy. You're going to be walking faster till you running. You know what I'm saying? I've seen this time and time again. You know what I'm saying? And the glory of that, of you transforming your body, would be so great for you.
Hell yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like me, I'm in shape. There's nothing there. You know what I'm saying? I can get more in shape, but who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like the listen, it's a huge correlation from with our gut and our brains. Like it's a relationship between our stomach and our brains. It literally is physically, right? And you're operating on a very high frequency. Just imagine if you shed the excess,
And line it
how high you're gonna be operating and vibrating, bro.
It's your second brain, right?
Right,
That
but it
gut
really
feeling,
was your first brain. And if you look at evolution, very single cell organisms had just a means for food, for light or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's very much so connected. You know what I'm saying? So, bro, you will be billionaire status as soon as you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Straight up.
Too,
You know
man. I've been
what?
slacking.
Today, July 27th.
What we doing, man?
It starts today. Like
What we doing?
You know, and like
What
you
we
said,
doing?
There's no excuses.
What we doing?
We're going to
It
get this
starts
man a
today.
care
We
package.
What we
today.
doing?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
What we
yes.
doing? I'm with it,
It
man.
starts
I'm with
today.
it, man.
And that's the part, and this is the power of I'm going with people who want to go.
Yeah.
I'm getting on the boat with people who want to go. Accountability, sparring partners, people who are better and experts in other industries. And that's something that I know and realize I got a problem with. So now as I tell people to challenge, and I challenge people to make good financial habits and financial behaviors to strengthen, now I'm held accountable publicly at that.
Facts.
That
Oh,
now on July 27th, you made a commitment to focus on your health. 30 days from now, we see what it's like.
That's a fact.
And we just
60
keep that,
days
we
we
keep
see.
that going.
Yep.
Here's the thing. Let's say 30 days, in that 30-day span, you do good for 10 days. Big deal. The next 30 days, maybe it's 12 days. It's not an overnight switch. That's
Compound effect.
That's unrealistic, exactly.
Yeah.
It's unrealistic, but over time. And the younger we are, when we get locked into it, the better. Because when I was a trainer in the gym, it was sad, man. People who doctors are sending them to get a trainer, it's too late. It's technically not. But the older people get, the more unhealthy they get. It's just they can't make that adjustment. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's too hard. So this is something that we all need to be addicted to, because it just enhances our quality of life. That's it.
He just turned
That's
me
it.
up just now, man. We turned
Y'all
up.
watch Billions?
That's my favorite show.
Okay.
I
You
got
watch Billions?
my team studying it. My students,
Okay.
they're studying it.
You notice Axelrod and Chuck, they both work out. They meditate. Both of them work out, train, and meditate.
And meditate.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's a huge staple in both of our protocols. You know what I mean? Meditate, sauna, like all of these things that make you suffer.
You know
Yeah.
what's crazy?
But it
I actually do.
I got a sauna in my house.
Chirotherapy. I'll be
Okay.
doing that.
I
Man.
got a sauna and a gym in my house.
Okay.
So I don't
Right.
everything you said, the meditation
Yeah.
room, Zen, it's there.
All of that.
It's just, I'll go down and go into my office.
30 days, bro.
You listen, bro.
We on it.
You owe it to yourself. So I was taught meditation in anger management class. He didn't call it meditation. He was just saying this breathing exercise. And then one day, and I was at an age where I just accepted it. Like, all right, I'll try this. I would just fall asleep or whatever. But near the end, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But I didn't really put two and two together. So one day, I'm on a flight from Miami to here and dealing with business shit on both ends with the shady Wi-Fi. So I'm trying to communicate this to this, and it's not going through fast. I'm just hot, like people lying and shit. So we get off the plane. The 5-hour flight felt like 5 minutes. That's how hot I was, right? I get off the plane. I just stopped in the middle of the airport. I didn't care how I looked. And I'm going to do my breathing exercise because I'm fucking pissed right now. And, bro, like I sat there for like, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. And it gave me like 2 weeks of peace. No cap, bro. So then I started doing it for real, and I know the benefits of it. And it's hard to do with busy people because we're busy. To take 5 minutes out of your day, it's kind of like, fuck, I'm gonna just do this first.
Stop the brain from thinking and working.
You stop it. It's so beneficial. It's so beneficial, man. Like once you do it, once you tap into it, you're gonna like, yo, I owe myself at least 5 minutes a day. You owe yourself. You give yourself. You a hunter. You out hunting for your tribe. You owe it to yourself because nobody else is gonna give you that peace for 5 minutes. No one can give it to you. Only you can do it for yourself.
Yeah.
We all owe it to ourselves. Y'all trust me on this. Meditation, it's a game changer. I feel like it gives me like GPS for all my decisions for life. Like I get it. Okay, I should do this. I should do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yo, it's getting late.
Definitely,
yo,
man. It's all
I
good.
appreciate y'all so much for coming out.
Likewise, man.
I got y'all information linked in the description. Y'all make sure y'all check them out. Follow these brothers. Wise beyond. I don't even have the words to quantify what these guys got, man. And I signed up for your program. I'm gonna sign up for yours too. I haven't went through it yet, but I'm going to do it. And yours. I'm going to actually do it, right? Because I don't know it. I don't know everything. You know what I'm saying? Yes. But the stuff that I did see in yours, I'm like, yo, this is fucking tangible. Anybody can do this one right here. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many things in it that you can, big level to small level, make extra $5,000, $10,000 a month. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of value there. And I used to judge people who do programs because I knew a lot of people that's just like, their business was just teaching people, giving advice only. You know what I'm saying? Like, what have you done, though? Like, what have you done tangibly? But I've met a lot, like, not just y'all, other brothers, too, that is legit and have legitimate programs and courses. And I salute. I subscribe. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And I need to get more savvy with the
I got you, bro. Let's do it, King.
With the stock market.
Hell yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
One thing though about that with the course, because we as course sellers, a lot of things get questioned about people selling courses.
Right.
Me myself, I pride myself on always becoming a better businessman. So the things that I was teaching when I started are completely different now. See, it's not like my program, like Recession Proof. You understand that it's not just a financial literacy. It's so many things about mastering the internet, whether it's content creation, whether it's how to do a webinar and launch your business. Because people can't launch businesses. They can't start businesses. Running ads is something that's foreign language. But a business doesn't exist without advertising and marketing.
Correct.
So that's taught. And it starts to become fundamental for everybody to be able to take it to the next level. But myself, I have to practice and do the things that I teach. People go, how do you make $100,000 in a day? I go, this was my blueprint to make $100,000 in a day. Advertisement, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, digital products that I provide you with, or how to create your own digital product if you're in another industry. I was doing it off of webinars. I'm now getting ready to build out and launch a product, and I'm trying to show people how I've made $1 million in a day before. And people go, what? That's not possible. Receipts to prove, and this is the formula for a year of build out and how much was made prior until building up on this day. Now I'm in the private jet industry, aviation. I own a jet. People look and go, well, what that benefit everybody else? Well, guess what? Success leaves clues.
Yeah.
100%.
So as I build this out, I'm showing everybody what we do, how to elevate, how to make more money, how to go to the next level. And I think that it's now becoming more acceptable for people to say, let me just learn from somebody else's losses, or else take 3 or 4 years, 5 years to go figure it out and learn. But when somebody has had exponential growth and so many different relationships that everything starts to come in-house, you go, nah, I can cut my learning curve in half. Because he like, yo, nah, dividends like this. Like he says, dividends like I never touch stocks until him. Say, yeah, you buy enough stocks and things that you believe in to where the dividends can buy you more stocks, and now you got a continuous snowball effect. It's not what you finish, it's what you start. This is the information that now goes, yeah, I'm a course buyer.
Oh, 100% I am.
I'm a course buyer. I just spent, we both in masterminds, we spent $55,000.
Yep.
It's not that we go and get some
We
extra.
got to fly out to next week.
Right? It ain't no astronomical, they got a blue magic pill. No, they have more things to elevate and help me take it to the next level that I didn't think about. It's just improvement on improvement. And it's a tangible, a transactional relationship. I paid for information to help me become better, and the information that I need, not everything, I take the information I need, implement it, get better. That's it. And just like we can go to college and do years, now we can cut the learning curve and go learn straight from somebody who actually does it. And that's enhanced by the internet.
Right.
And if we don't know how to monetize the internet, then we lose.
Correct.
So everything is needed. And when we see people that's like experts, it would be foolish for me to see a Mike Rashid and everything that you've been able to do with your brands, the different formulas and the different workouts and how you integrate it in your industry vertically. Everything with fitness you do or have. I can look at that business model now
That's a fact.
and go, I don't got to be in fitness to mimic the business model that you have.
That's a fact.
Right.
I can be in financial literacy and
That's a
credit
fact.
and do it. You could be in stocks and do it and just learn business structures. A lot of times that's the key to success, is the ability to learn. And a lot of times people want to get walked through and they lose the ability to learn. Now we make it easy to learn because we speak in your language. We make it digestible. We talk to people who understand what we're saying. And we did what you have to do because we were standing there.
Right.
And then you pick it up, and guess what? You now have a responsibility to turn around and educate your people. If you frown on people who sell education, you're selfish and you will never pass that education on to other people because you don't have a willingness to learn and be a student and then turn around and say, okay, I do have a duty that it's people that I know who probably should be watching this podcast or watching this episode, and they're not watching right now. But I'm watching. And if you picked up any tangible jewel, then you now have a responsibility to go back and tell people who can benefit from it, who are willing to listen and willing to execute. It's your job.
Right.
And that became our jobs. Now it's like, we learned a way out. Since we figured a way out, if we get out and don't go back and tell other people that you just got to go this way to get out, then we doing a disservice to our community and everybody who we leave behind.
Facts.
Yeah. Yo, brain mind blown. Now the value, the wealth of knowledge you guys have, and not just the knowledge, the implementation of it. I mean, y'all are living examples of it. So salute, roses, flowers, cheers, kudos, all the accolades. You know what I mean? Very happy you guys came down straight up. We gotta do this
Coming
again.
back,
We
man.
gotta do this
Definitely
again.
coming back, man.
We want to encourage all of our people who are watching to
Tap in.
tap in, check this out, advance yourself. The same way as maybe you got the workouts on lock at this point. Maybe you're still working on that too. But no matter what, you have to
gotta
attack
be full
all areas of your life.
Be solid, completely solid. All right, and we out of here.
Appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir.